Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
And we're having a look at a... what is it?
Watchtower.
A watchtower. It's kind of watchtower or a stockade.
It does look like something you store stuff in.
Yeah, it's basically a stockade. We'll call it a stockade. These things were generally used for defensive purposes. A lot of colonial towns would have something like this on the edge of it as a place where you can look out for Indians or French or indeed Spanish, and it was a nice little defensive position you could use. These are American Civil War figures, but you can use it for Civil War if you want. In the Civil War they did use these blockhouses, although normally they would put them at a corner position in a fortress, and they wouldn't really be used as a defensive point, they'd be used for troops to rest. So if you're on the walls getting shot at all day, you could just wander into one of these and it was a pretty safe place to sit and relax for a while, get your troops out of combat. But that was the Civil War era. This era is we're kind of using it for Call of Cthulu, so it's a stockade at the time of the early settlers.
Yeah.
Which is what we're using it for, but it is a pretty generic design and they use them all the way through. There are still quite a few still in existence which you can find knocking around, and so just Google them. So this is the basic roof, and this is the fighting platform. That's where the troops can shoot out of. There were also larger versions which had a lower deck with a cannon in it, and then an upper deck with firing positions. This is just a small version, and that's the base. So that's the place where the troops will, I presume, relax and just chill out.
Relax in the front door where people can just burst in and stab you to death. No, thank you.
Well, some of them were a bit different. Some of them, the base was entirely solid, like filled with stones, and it just had a corridor up. Some didn't even have a door in the base. It just had a set of ladders going to the first floor.
Which is a way better design. Yeah,
but this particular one, it's not necessarily used all the time, so it's a temporary defensive position. So it's kind of multi-use. You can use it for the Civil War period. You can use it for colonial period. You can use it for all sorts.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of it?
It's a pretty good design, isn't it? Is there an attic?
Yes. There's an attic with a... There's clearly an attic above it with a little firing post there and a firing post at the back. It's a straightforward design. It's made out of 2 layers of card reinforced to make it a nice solid roof. Same with this. It's got 2 layers inside. And with this, so it's a very solid structure. It can be stacked for storage. Always look for that. Always look for the ability to store models.
Why is a roof like that though?
How do you mean?
Because if it's a defensive position, that roof's just gonna draw fire towards it, isn't it?
Well, in what way do you mean?
Well, because most like castles and stuff have flat roofs. So they aren't as tall, so it's not a massive target to hit. Because if that roof gets hit once, it caves in and everyone dies inside.
No, technically, you're kind of right. Fortresses used to have a 45-degree angle on their roof, or 30-degree angle, depending on what type of fortress, and that meant that arrows and things falling down would bounce off the roof. Because arrows fall in a straight line. Bullets again would glance off the 45-degree angle. Also, this wouldn't be just the standard roof as it comes. Let's think. Where was the furthest point the conquest got to, the Islamic conquest?
Oh, God, no, which one?
Vienna. The Battle of Vienna, when Vienna was sieged, the Turks set up all their positions facing one bastion, and so every house that had a roof that faced the Turks, they took the slates off that roof and they took the brick from the inside of the buildings, because you had a wooden frame with bricks inside, and they took all the flagstones up from the ground and stacked them at the far side of the buildings. So that meant if a cannonball came down, it would go through the roof and do no damage. Out the opposite side, because there were no bricks there, it would just punch straight through the thin wooden wall and straight into the dirt.
Which was nothing.
Yes, so the Turks shelled the city for months on end, about 8 months I think they shelled the city for, and did absolutely no damage and killed no one. So so you're kind of right. Some roofs would be cinder blocks, so they'd be solid oak roofs, so you could bounce things off, or they would be thin roofs. This one has been used for a period of time, and it's taken up sort of. It's part of the town now. They're part of the edge of the town, so they just put normal tiles on. Things will go. Soft things will bounce off. Hard things will go straight through. So you'll do very little actual damage to it. Also, for these sort of buildings, we're talking about Indian raids and things like that, and the Indians don't have artillery.
Oh yeah.
So on the frontier in America, there's
nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. No.
Maybe the odd arrow.
The odd arrow, yeah.
Why would you make the bottom level smaller than the top level? Because obviously then they just focus on the bottom level until the entire building collapses.
Well, often the bottom level will be bricked up. You'd have cinder blocks inside. In this case, you just bar the door, and the top level, anyone trying to get in, attack the bottom level, you would be able to drop things through there's a hole underneath.
Were they normally made out of wood?
Yes.
Because once we just get some fire arrows and just light the place up.
Well, again, you're talking about the frontier in America. How long do the Indians have, or how long do the French have?
Not long.
Not long before relief troops arrive.
Yeah.
So it is it's a holding position.
For a short amount of time.
Yep. During the night, when the raid's going on, you can get your people inside it. There will be usually 1 or 2 houses which are perfectly defendable, and those houses will be locked up. You'll have troops inside, or the civilians inside armed, and you just hold out until the local garrison arrives, the local militia. Because once a raid's going on, you contact you send the message, a rider rides out to let everybody know, and all the local militia, the Minutemen, you can basically, a man who is a farmer or a lawyer, whatever, he within a minute, he can get out there with his full equipment that he needs to fight with, and he'll be mustered and they'll be on the way.
Yeah.
So you're limited. It doesn't have to be held for a long period of time. It's a stopgap. It's a safe position. Yeah. And also you would put this on the edge of a town, overlooking the roads, overlooking the fields, heading towards the town. So you would have people in here to look out.
And last question.
Yeah.
How many people would actually hold out in there?
An old blockhouse like this, 4 men.
That it?
Yeah, that's the standard garrison.
That's not helpful, is it?
Well, it is. Because the standard raiding...
It's great the Indians will attack you and they run away, but isn't it good to thin down the herd?
Well, the largest Indian party was about, 170 Indians?
Mm.
So that's a really large raiding party which attacked an entire town.
Oof.
Right? So, and a large number of Indians were killed. Although they took the town folks prisoner, dragged them off, and the French sold the women and children into slavery. Because French do that. Generally, you wouldn't have many men. Think about it. You're not being attacked all the time. Whole years will go by without any raids. Some raids will just be a half a dozen Indians or French turning up trying to steal a cow.
Yeah. And
you'd walk up to them and say, "Come on, mate," and it's like, "Hey, here's some money, or here's a beer. Go away." No, all right, you can take 1 cow. Right, go away. That's the sort of thing that would happen locally if there wasn't a garrison immediately there. If there was a garrison there, then they'd string them up. They'd probably hang the Indians or hang the French. But generally, a lot of the fighting in the Americas up to Queen Anne's War and slightly after Queen Anne's War was local French farmers in a bad mood who would walk over to your town and throw arrows at it and pretend to be Indians, and a lot of it was the British going over to the French town, dressing up as Indians and doing the same. What started the War of Independence?
Oh, I know this as well. Oh, tax.
Yeah, but what happened? What was the Tea Party?
Oh.
Boston Tea Party. A group of Americans, patriots, what the Americans call it, they dressed up as Red Indians and attacked a British boat and threw the tea into the harbour.
Oof.
And pretended to be
yeah,
Indians and said, "Oh, the Indians did it." And the British were, "No, they didn't. It was you. You were wearing Indian feathers. It was definitely you, Dave. I recognise you." So this was quite common. Blaming it on the Indians was something that was common there. In the Cthulu mythos, of course, it's never the Indians that did it. It's always some weirdo cultists, usually French or Spanish, who would pretend to be Indians, but they would actually be, or they would pretend to be French or whatever. So yeah, that's that. You said that was your question. Have you got any more questions?
No.
Is that all?
Yeah, my brain is a very small piece of fragile.
You have got a very fragile brain.
Yeah, I haven't really learnt anything for the past 7 months. So.
No, we've been in we've been in. Well, everyone has, haven't they?
Yeah.
Everyone's been in lockdown, which has been fun.
Like you took your brain out, you put it on the side, and now it's covered in dust.
Yeah. Actually, I've spent a lot of time learning stuff. I've been reading a lot more.
Have you? I've done.
Well, I read the book you bought me.
Yeah.
There's the last 40k book we'll ever buy. It's a good book though. Cadia Stands?
Yeah, Cadia Stands.
Good book. Not as good as Devastation of Baal. I think that's almost my number one favourite book. But yeah, so we've been in lockdown and we're going back in apparently. And
in, out, shake it all about.
Yep, and the British government has said only 6 people can gather as of today, as of Monday. Only 6 people can gather unless you're at school, and then you can have 30. Or unless you're at a wedding or a funeral.
Yeah.
Or you're at a demonstration pulling statues down, in which case it's fine. Because, as we all know, the disease of Nurgle cannot spread when you're pulling statues down and stuff. But that's just life. Although we do have marshals now, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we've got COVID marshals in Britain. It's a wonderful free country we have here if you're an American. And we have COVID marshals who hunt down people who are suspected of, I don't know, not wearing a mask. It's a £100 fine.
Yep.
Public information in case you didn't know. A £100 fine for not wearing a mask. And if you don't believe in it, a marshal will come to your house with a little red armband on his sleeve and they'll take you away to the big building. Yeah.
Stay safe from this video.
Yeah. You know the Americans. I love the Americans, right? You know what the Americans are? Do you know who they are? They're the people who lived in Britain and they absolutely couldn't stand the British government. And they left. They went all the way to America, right? 3 months on a boat. 10% of the people going died, right? And they found a field in the middle of nowhere and built a house. That's who the Americans are. Freedom-loving people who escaped Britain. I think we should follow them. Although looking at America these days, maybe not. Is that it?
That's it. I think that's everything for this video.
Right.
If you enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe and comment down below what you think of the Stockhouse.
I think it's Blockhouse.
Yeah,
Blockhouse. I think they call them
Watchtower.
Blockhouse. In not Pirates of the Caribbean. Sorry. In Treasure Island, they build a blockhouse.
Think if it's Saxon England.
Saxon England.
We have the same things.
Yes, actually, the Romans built something very similar. We had a Roman one.
It was to stop Vikings from raiding.
Yes. So the Romans would hide in it until the Vikings went away, because the Vikings hadn't invented ladders. That was the Saxons. Yeah. And that's why we have churches with spires. The spire on the end of a church was originally a defensive point, because the original spires were round. It's like Saxon stuff.
Well, that's everything from me.
And everything from him. So I guess. Oh yeah, like the video.
Did that? We done all that.
Have you?
Yeah, we done all.
I wasn't paying attention.
No.
I was staring off into the distance. So thank you very much for watching. This has been in part of Vespasian.
And it's just a sidekick.
Goodbye from him.
I already said this. Goodbye from him.
And goodbye from me. Goodbye.